of time. Thank you all for being here. I see Maurice, he's ready with his notebook out. For everybody that is tuning in live here on YouTube, welcome. It's been a blessing to be away, honestly, from creating and creation. And I believe in order to create, you got to come back to self and go inward and to your mind and the, the things that helped creation and all that we've created transpire. And that's getting back to the visualization, going inward, taking that journey inward, I like to say. And so that's what I've been doing, tremendously over the past couple months. And I've been tons of places. I've seen tons of things. I've been in Vietnam. I've been in Peru, since, I've been in Japan since. We've been in probably 20 plus different states since I've been stateside the past week and a half. I've been in about 6 different states, and I'm saying this all to say, not to impress not one of you guys at all, none of you guys, not to impress you guys, but to impress upon you guys that if me, myself, is doing this, you guys too yourself can be able to free yourself with this information, with these teachings. I'm not here to teach you guys this information for my own good. I've been able to get access to these teachings, apply them, and this has been able to free me. And just by teaching others, it's allowed me to have in place mentorships, communities, franchise opportunities to where people can pay for my specialized knowledge in this space and in this field. We've been able to discharge over $1 million. And I say this not lightly at all, because I understand what it took to get here. And I understand that this information, it's for everybody, to be able to have access to at their fingertips. All of these teachings that I'm going to teach you guys with how to remove anything off your credit report. How many of you guys have things on your credit report? Drop a 1 in the chat box. Drop a 1 in the chat box. This is where we engage now. This is where the energy and the frequencies rise by all of us interacting with one another and engaging together. So drop a 1 in the chat box if you have at least one thing on your credit report, on your consumer report, that you would love to remove. What if there's certain and specific laws and codes that have been put in place since the 1970s for you, yes, for you, to go ahead and get these accounts removed? What if it was unlawful? And what I mean by unlawful, what if it was against the law for these accounts to actually be reported on your consumer report? What if, all right, just what if this whole credit system was fictitious, make-believe, and something used to misconstrue you, the consumer, being the most important piece of this whole game as a whole, into thinking that you guys are borrowing, when if we take it to scripture, I'm not here to preach to anybody, but if we take it to scripture in Deuteronomy 15, it states, you will lend to many nations, but you will borrow from none. So the title specifically that I want to keep you guys within is Title 15. So very similar to the book of Numbers, which is in Deuteronomy 15. So what I want you guys to understand is the correlation and see the correlations within them. And I want you guys to go out and use this information. And I'm going to give you guys a tool to be able to utilize and break down this information to be able to allow you guys to get a free car by discharging debts off your consumer report. Because any line of credit, whether that's you going out and getting an auto loan, or whether that's you going out and getting a credit card, or whether that's you going out and, or somebody going out and, fraudulently using your information to go out and acquire a credit card, they're all lines of credit, aka a trade line. And to answer your question, Clarity, you mentioned something about how can I build my credit without having my credit pooled? There's things called trade lines that you can add onto your credit report. Many people think a trade line is simply just an authorized user. An authorized user is another form of a trade line, which people can. This is another way where you can build your credit without having your credit pooled or ran. You can get added on to somebody's credit card as an authorized user, and from there you can get their history. It's piggybacking everything from that credit card onto your credit report as well too. So the payment history, it's reporting the limit, it's reporting everything on there. So it'll help with your utilization, it'll help with your payment history, it'll help with the years of the oldest account if it's an older card, etc. So that's one way. That's called an authorized user. A trade line is simply just a line of credit. I want y'all to remember that, and I want you guys to write that down. A trade line is simply a line of credit. So now if I know a trade line is a line of credit, well, now I can go out and now I'm aware that there's other lines of credit I can also add on to build my credit that I don't have to actually get a hard inquiry from, but I can have these report, and these are called primary accounts. And these are accounts just like a net 30, just like a net 60 and a net 90, accounts that you can add on. And these are accounts like Bright Money, like Money Lion, like Rental Karma, like Rent Reporters. I've been talking about these accounts for some time. There's tons of accounts where you guys can add on though to your guys' credit report, which will help you guys ultimately build your credit history. Let me go ahead and record this call as well too. My apologies. All right, man. Peace and love. It's September 23rd, 2025, and we're covering right now going over the process of exactly step by step what one needs to do to go ahead and get a negative account removed, any negative account removed off their consumer report, as well as if you guys have an auto loan, how to discharge that auto loan off my consumer report. How can I completely remove and completely wipe this auto loan off my credit report? And that's what I recommend for any of you guys to do that are looking to go out and acquire a car or a vehicle for free, leveraging your credit by going out, having to acquire, playing dumb, playing by the rules. And then from there, there's certain things that they have not abided by, certain forms that they're required to show and submit through the process, through the lending process, which they don't. And from that, you guys are able to hold them liable within Truth in Lending and the FDCPA, as well as the Fair Credit Reporting Act. We're going to cover all of these right now, and really the process that you guys want to take to not only get these accounts removed, but also to seek litigation or to seek arbitration. And through there is typically where I've found many people be able to, get the remedy. I'm actually going through a case right now with Wells Fargo, and I'll make sure to gladly share this with all of you guys, once it's completely settled. But with Wells Fargo, we are going through arbitration. So I'm going to go ahead and share here on my screen for those of you guys that are on the Zoom call. I'm going to go ahead and share with you guys our administrative process, our step-by-step process that we've used to discharge over $1 million in debt. So I'm going to go ahead and take you guys and just open up our administrative process. What is an administrative process? Well, this is the comprehensive guide to YBC's administrative process for anything being deleted off of one's consumer report. Because we understand navigating the complex world of consumer credit reports, it can be challenging. But the YBC administrative process provides a systematic approach to address inaccuracies. And this guide will walk you guys through each step to help you achieve accurate and fair credit reporting, because this is exactly what Congress wanted as well when these laws were passed. So step number one, I need y'all to write this down. Drop a 1 in the chat box if y'all are ready for step number one. If you guys are here live on the YouTube, let's make sure that we're doing our part and dropping a like as well. Right. Step number one is to simply print out your consumer reports. Where do we do that through? I'm going to go ahead and skim through all of these, because this is pretty, surface level basic information, and we've got a lot of things to cover here while we are here for the next 15 to 20 minutes. And then I'm going to give you guys a Q&A. So we're going to start by a copy of your consumer report. So you want to go to annualcreditreport.com, order your consumer reports, download the PDFs and print them out, or keep them in your files, or keep them somewhere that's able to be printed out and turned into a PDF. And step number two is to go through them. Look at your consumer reports. Do you see any discrepancies, any addresses that are wrong, any names that are misspelled, any accounts where you see different balances? Any accounts where you see one account being reported late on this date and this month versus the other reporting agency reporting it completely different? Where do you guys see any differences from the reportings? All right, that's what you guys are looking for in step number two. Step number three is we want to create an affidavit of truth. Right, I've talked with many of my people in this space, and affidavits have been the most powerful thing because it's a whole nother witness that you guys are getting, putting these companies on the spot, and ultimately they need to be put on the spot for the violations and the federal laws in which they are violating, but most people are not. And so you guys got to create that affidavit of truth, and it's stating that you guys, one is being truthful in this statement. Number four is creating your CFPB reports. How many of you guys have been leveraging the CFPB portals? How many of you guys have been leveraging the Attorney General portals? There's many online portals that you guys all have access to be able to go out and submit accounts against or submit complaints against these creditors, these debt collectors, these all these financial institutions. There's places, there's in your as a state, there's places federally where you guys can go and file complaints. The SEC, you guys can go to the FDIC and file a complaint. You guys can go to the OTC. You guys can go to the FTC. You guys can go to the OCC. You guys can go to the FCC, for communication. And there's tons of places where you guys can go to file complaints as a consumer. That alone should show the power that you guys have, and that it's well aware, and that there's been things that have been put in place to protect you guys against what is taking place. And if not, they're going to continue taking advantage of you guys. How many of you guys, drop a 3 in the chat box if you guys would love to continue being taken advantage of? Drop a 3 in the chat box if you would love to. Now drop a 5 or drop I love myself. Drop an I love myself, because what we're promoting is more self-love. Right? The more that you guys learn this, the more love that you guys have for self, and the more love that one has for self, the more that you guys can go out and spread love in this world. How many of you guys are looking to empower oneself? Well, I'm going to give you guys here a tool that's going to be able to help every single one of you guys that is just a part of our communities. Right? It's not, I'm not asking them much, but if you guys want access to what I'm about to show you guys next, you guys do have to be a part of our community. I did make it only accessible previously to our mentorship community, and we've gotten tons of feedback from our we've got tons of how do I turn this off? I don't watch the news, but I'm seeing all this stuff on the news, and I'm like, jeez. We've got, I don't even know what I was gonna say. Notice step number 5 though. So step 4 is to create your online complaints, not just the CFPB, not just the FTC, not just the OCC. We've got the Attorney General. We've got all these places where we can go and file complaints. Step number 5 is the notice of dispute. How many of you guys have drafted up a notice of dispute, putting these companies, putting these debt collectors on notice? How many of you guys have been sued by a debt collector and been put on notice, but you guys didn't know how to put them back on notice? Well, I'm going to give you guys a tool that's going to help you guys with exactly such. And then step number 7, we're on 6. Step number 6. So step number 5 is the notice of dispute. Step number 6 is to mail out the documents of the notice of dispute. You want to mail those out as well with your ID and 2 forms of identification. Step number 7 is a pre-arbitration. So after that, we're going to get a response. From there, we're going to go ahead and respond back with a pre-arbitration, allowing them to comply. If they're not willing to comply, then what we'll do is we'll show more damages. Or number 8, gather all of the damages that have been done. On something as well too that can show other damages is applying for accounts. Because when you apply for accounts, it demonstrates the damages being done to your credit worthiness. This step strengthens your case by showing the real world impact of the inaccuracies in your ability to secure credit, which is a God-given right and something that we're granting these companies in the first place. And from the inaccurate reporting with these companies, it's literally damaged my livelihood. It's affected my livelihood. Step number 9, enforcement and taking them through arbitration if they have a clause with the American Arbitration Association. And you guys can check all that out here at adr.org. So if you guys are here tuned in, and for all my people here tuned in, to the Zoom call, and if you guys are not tuned into the Zoom call and you guys are just here on YouTube, make sure to text us at 305. Text us right now, community. Text us the word community, and we'll go ahead and get you guys into our Discord community, which is completely free, no upcharge, nothing being sold in there. Every week we have calls open free for the public, for a Zoom call where you guys can come in and interact with us as well too. We've got multiple free calls for our community, and we've got over 400 members within there. And if you guys have any questions, you guys can ask away in there. You guys can take away so much information and value. I have a Sauce with Gotti channel where I've got tons of value all with me. My business partner helps me run it as well. And within that, we're operating as well a multifamily fund. So if you guys have ever wanted to set up a fund, you guys will be able to get tons of value and information with real estate and overall just operating a fund. So I highly recommend that you guys do join our community. So you guys can text 305-575-2843. Now coming here to ADR.org, you want to come here to, they just changed the website a little bit, but we want to come here to consumer. And this is how we check the clauses and if they are, regulated by the American Arbitration Association. Okay, consumer clause registry. And then from here, we'll be able to really look into whether or not they are abiding by the American Arbitration Association. But this is where people are getting paid out thousands of dollars. I'd recommend arbitration over litigation any day because of the outcome, that I've seen, with just my expertise in the field, so I highly, highly recommend all of you guys to get in tune with arbitration and the American Arbitration Association. So now we're going to hop into some real world scenarios. So I've seen a couple people talk about evictions. Well, an eviction is just like a repo. So I believe, most people are dealing with repossessions. And I believe most people as well are dealing with reporting a debt as disputed. So they're going out and oftentimes they're disputing with these reporting agencies and they're reporting it or stating that it's accurate and it's verified. Well, I'm going to give you guys a couple different things that will help you guys with that and some real world scenarios, as well as some real case law studies of people that have gone out and won in federal court, getting these accounts removed. So we've got 15 USC 1681 S2. We're going to go ahead and dive personally into these consumer law codes and, just an overview of what I believe one should know as well, to help you guys out. And then I'm going to give you guys a tool and show you guys this tool and, break down exactly what is it we're talking about right here in subsection 15 USC 1681 S2. If you guys come here, you guys can see that there's a case law as well. I want you all to look into it. So you guys can go to pacermonitor.com, pacermonitor.com. And from there, you guys can go ahead and look into any case law, any case law at all, that's been public and that's been through the court systems. And from there, you guys can be able to look into them, see what they were able to use, what verbiage, what claims, to help them win this repossession. So your car was repossessed after missing a few payments. Maybe you guys were evicted after missing a few payments. However, the creditor falsely reports that you still owe the full balance of the loan, even though they sold the vehicle at an auction. How many of you guys have ever had a repo? Drop an I love myself or drop the word billions in the chat box. If you've ever had a repo and they sent you over a letter in the mail stated that we are going to be auctioning off your vehicle. Well, when they sell it, they're actually supposed to deduct the price of what they sold it for as well. And this is just fraud within itself, going and showing that one doesn't owe, something, because if they sold it and they deducted it from what it was that you quote unquote owed, then why would they even give you it? And it's what you quote unquote owed. And so it's just going to show that one, they've already been credited, and two, they're just looking to collect any extra thing that they can. The fact that they discharged it and charged off the account, I want you all to also look into a charge off. I also dropped that in Sauce with Gotti, and by definition, the definition of a charge off in accordance with the IRS and what one should do when an account is charged off, in their books. They're able to count it off and mark it as a loss in their books. Now, when it comes as a business owner, where's all my business owners, right? If I have something that I'm going to write off as a loss, is that going to hurt our business or is that going to help our business? Is that going to take away anything for our business, Or actually, as a matter of fact, am I maybe going to get some things back from a loss in a business or in an investment, right? If you guys know, or if you guys have a good CPA on your team and you guys know what it is I'm referring to. And so you can use 15 USC 1681 S2A to dispute the inaccuracy, as the creditor is required to report the correct balance. If they fail to correct the information, the Collins versus Experian case supports your claim to removal. Oftentimes they will, fail to remove it, or they'll state that it's accurate or that it's verified, and you dispute a collection account and they verified it. Right? How many times has this happened to you guys? Method of verification. Well, this case law right here, Cushman versus TransUnion, is what you guys want to use, get familiar with, and start leveraging, because there's people just like me, there's people just like you guys that have gone out, gotten a hold of this information, been able to relay this information and exercise it, and they didn't have the tools that I'm about to present to you guys and show you guys here in a second, for all of my people that are new in the university, as well as those that are tuned into the mentorship. And I want you guys to understand that they were getting told that it was verified, or that it was accurate. And a lot of times, and why they'll tell you guys this is, they're already breaking the law. They're going to continue to. It's just like a liar or a cheater. If a cheater is cheating and they're caught cheating, they're not going to be like, yeah, I was cheating right away. They're going to try to hold up a lie until you've really been able to show the evidence that one has been cheated. Like, yo, you are a cheater, and I've got evidence right here that you're cheating. Like, what is it? Like, they're gonna sing the song by Shaggy, "Wasn't Me," right? That's anytime you see method verification, them talking about, oh, it's verified. Just think of the song by Shaggy, "Wasn't Me." She even called me on the counter, wasn't me. Saw me banging on the sofa, wasn't me, right? And so what I want you to understand is that there's case law studies that have already been proven, such, and what it is that we're doing is not anything I created, I made up. These are all laws that are governed and, put in place by Congress. And so I'm going to take you guys here really quick, briefly, just to go ahead and know where to go to find these laws. So we want to come here to Title 15. As we come to Title 15, this is dealing everything with commerce and trade, we want to come here specifically in Chapter 41. So I'm going to go ahead and mute everybody really quick. Thank you for anybody that may just be tuning in. Let's make sure that we're muted coming in as well. Any questions, please do feel free to drop in the comment section. I see Laomi says, I've done the CFPB report. Perfect, Laomi. So now that you've done it, what results have you gotten from it? And have you stayed consistent with it? That's my biggest thing. Have you followed up with them? Have you, what else have you done outside of the CFPB? Have you done any OTC, any charge off removed? Okay, so it's, Laomi says charge off was removed from filing a CFPB report and exercising the teachings, that we've been teaching over the years. And so it's all about just doing more and, leveraging what you guys have. And there's tons and tons of resources out there for us. And so it's all about leveraging them. And so coming here, there's going to be the big three. I want you to write down the big three. Write down the big three. The big three subchapters, because within the big three, we've got truth in lending, which starts here at 15 USC 1601. There's a couple. I got some homework for you guys. I want you all to look into 15 USC 1601. I want you to write, take notes of them. I want you to write down and look into the verbs, the words of each line with the Black's Law Dictionary. 1611, 1605. You guys will love the determination of a finance charge. Everybody loves to throw out the finance charge and what it truly means. Break down the disclosure guidelines and what should be the guidelines of one disclosing any line of credit and what should be done. That's 1604, 1611. You guys will be shook by that one as well too. 1631 through, I want you all to look into 1635, the right of rescission. Right, the right of rescission. I also want you all to look into 1640, civil liability. I also want you to look into 1642, issuance of credit cards. All right, and then I want you all to look into credit billing, 1666. And then anything leases or any questions you guys have in regards to leases would all be there in consumer leases. I personally haven't really dove too deep into that. I really don't, mess with the leases too much. Then if we want to come here to the second part, then the big three, we're going to dive into the Fair Credit Reporting Act, which just deals with everything that is being reported on your credit report. This is 15 USC 1681. This is the Fair Credit Reporting Act. And these are all laws within here that you guys can leverage. 1681 S2 is what we talked about today. So here, responsibilities of furnishers, information to consumer reporting agencies, and how it must be 100% accurate. And so now I'm going to take you guys here to the tool. And this is the last thing that we're going to cover here on today's call. And we have a tool called the AI Debt Terminator. And within this, we can literally come here. And so I went ahead and I copied and pasted. I want you to find me more case law studies, 3 more, that are similar to such, and go ahead. So I said, find me 3 more case law studies that are similar to such and that go hand in hand with the repossession and violations of the FCRA and FDCPA. So some that are similar to Collins versus Experian is Saunders versus Branch Banking, Pintos versus Pacific Creditors, and Cushman versus TransUnion, which we just heard the Cushman one. So their failure to mark debts is disputed, impermissible credit pools tied to repossessed accounts, CRAs failing to reasonably reinvestigate the repo deficiencies disputes. So there's tons of alignment and tons of different things that you guys use, and there's really 1 to 2 consumer law codes that one would need to go ahead and get an account fully removed and to be able to get paid from it as well. Because within each subchapter, there's something called civil liability. So here is 1681N. And civil liability, it'll tell you any person who willfully fails to comply with any requirement imposed under this subchapter with respect to any consumer is liable to that consumer in the amount of any actual damages. So any actual damages, what are the damages that were done to you guys? So we talk about an auto loan where you guys can actually get a 6-figure play off of an auto loan company or one of these financial institutions, which is fraudulently lended to you, which is maybe denied you credit, which has affected your livelihood in whatever way it may have been. And the damages that were done from that is the actual damages that one could actually go after these companies for. It's not just up to $1,000 as it states next per each violation within that subchapter. So I'm gonna say that part again so it doesn't go over you guys' head. You guys can, yes, get up to $1,000 per each violation within each subchapter or any actual damage. So that's within the FCRA and the FDCPA. Now within Truth in Lending, it actually talks about double the finance charge per every violation. So not $1,000, but double the finance charge. Well, what is our finance charge? That's another piece of homework that I have for all of you guys as well to go out and do today. Gather your Truth in Lending disclosures for your credit cards, for your auto loans. If you guys want to remove an auto loan from your credit report, go look at the finance charge. Go look at the Truth in Lending disclosure. Go look at the amount being financed. Look at what it says right under the amount financed, the amount of credit being provided to you on your behalf. So this is being provided to you. This is being gifted to you. Well, the finance charge is the sum of all charges. That means that's the total amount that one should be paying. But if the amount finance covers, which it says provided to us, if something is provided means it's given to one. If I provided shelter, I'm given shelter. And if credit is being provided, if this credit is being provided to me on my behalf, well, that should be covering the amount financed, the finance charge. It only makes sense in my head. And so with that being said, that's what these contracts are saying as well. And with that being said, y'all are still making these payments, still paying off these cars. Well, that's what I talk about, and that's the truth. And that's, what I wanted to kind of sum up with being able to discharge one's debt off a car and off an auto loan. And it's not something that's going to happen overnight. And, it's not an easy process. And this is something that does take you having knowledge with and, being able to and willing to take them to court if need be, because you got your credit reports, you've got the evidence, you've got things showing the inaccuracies, you've got things showing, the agreements, the credit card agreements showing, things that they've not complied with. And you've got the contracts that state if there's any claims, any disagreements. Well, I've came to the conclusion that now I'm well aware of my rights and that I wasn't disclosed certain rights or and forms that I'm supposed to be disclosed. Well, now I'm looking to, uphold and hold them liable, for not properly going through the disclosures and, breaking down the disclosure guidelines in 15 USC 1604 and truth in lending, going through the Fair Credit Reporting Act and being able to break it down. All right, well, let me take you guys to the third subchapter, which will also help you guys with taking these companies to arbitration, which is ultimately step number 9 of what we're looking to do with our process within our administrative process. And that's going to ultimately help you guys remove anything off your credit report, hence the title of this video and this live. And then if you guys are looking to remove your auto loan, y'all could do it with this exact same process as well. But it does take you having knowledge on the big 3 subchapters: truth in lending, the Fair Credit Reporting Act, and now the FDCPA, which is 15 USC 1692, the start of it. And that's congressional findings. And from there, you guys can also go throughout here and, find other parts within the FDCPA that may align. Maybe you've had some unfair debt collection practices. Well, within the unfair practices, where you would exactly look. Maybe you've had them validate and verify a debt. Well, these are the actual things that one must provide to validate a debt. So are they providing those 5 things that are required in accordance with federal law? Well, if not, then y'all must run me my money. Well, here's everything that one would need: multiple debts, false or misleading representations. These are where you guys would come and hold them civilly and criminally liable within each subchapter. Now I want you to draft me up an affidavit. And this is with no credit report as well too. So this is our AI debt terminator, and it went ahead and drafted up without even seeing our credit reports. Obviously, the more information that it has, it's going to be able to go out and do even more for you guys. And so you guys can insert any responses from these companies. You guys can insert anything and everything one could think of credit related into this AI debt terminator, and it will do it for you guys. That exact same process. What's the administrative process? It's well programmed to know this exact same process, so it has our exact process. That's exactly what it does, and that's what we programmed it for. And so if you guys have anything that you guys are going through and you guys are looking to have access to me, well, step 9, boom, right there, arbitration. Well, let's make sure we're leveraging what it is that we have here at hand, to help us. And if you guys have any questions, ask it in the community, but we should be sending out online complaints daily with having access to an AI. So if you guys have debts on your credit report and, there's no credit company, and this is me being in the space, with our company having, discharged over $1 million in the time frame that we have, there's no company that can do for you guys that you can do for self. That's why I stepped out of this space, and I'm just like, I'd rather empower those that are willing to learn, educate themselves, and gain the knowledge to therefore be able to pass it forward and help the masses with this, because there's millions of people being violated against Equifax, Experian, TransUnion, these financial institutions. And I believe the only way for us to truly put a stop to this is by becoming educated and empowered through education and knowledge. And so it's going to take those wanting and willing to learn, but also leveraging the tools that we have to help speed up the process of them learning. And that's going to be AI. That's going to be you taking 20 to 30 minutes out of your day to read these, sub chapters that we just covered, the big three. If you're aware of just these big three sub chapters alone, Truth in Lending, the Fair Credit Reporting Act, and the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, you can help yourselves with anything credit related and any debt that one may be in. And so I advise you guys, I challenge you guys, go out, seek the knowledge, go out, connect with other people that are also in the same position as you guys and learn this information, leverage these tools. We have an online university that's $97, which will give you guys free access to this tool, here with this AI Debt Terminator. Outside of that, it used to be you guys had to invest into the mentorship, $2,500 just to get access to this tool and to this technology. But now, with just the mentorship or with the university alone, you guys are all able to get access to this AI Debt Terminator with just being a part of YPC University. So if anybody has any questions, please do feel free to drop in the comment section. I'm gonna give you guys this time now, about 5 to 10 minutes, to go ahead and get any questions answered. And while I'm doing such, I'm gonna go ahead and read through some of the comments, but please do either raise your hand or ask in the comment section. My score went up from a 540. So from a 540 to a 650 after filing a CFPB report and getting that charge off removed is what Leomi stated. So Leomi's been with the community and, been tuned in, for on and off for the past about year and a half, maybe 2 years, maybe not even that long, but, just never paid, for any of the mentorship. I believe paid 1 month for the university, got the information, got what she needed, applied it, was able to get those results. And, she's actually indigenous, and I believe she comes from Navajo Nation. And so for all of my people that are indigenous and come from tribal, nations, I'd gladly help you guys out with any resource for free. And so I've been able to do that actually with Leomi and give her, some resources. So I see VIP Fernando. Mental stress, financial charge is the grand total, the sum of all charges, everything included in the finance charge. Yes, 1,000%, Fernando. 15 USC 1605. TILA, FCRA, and FDCPA. Yes, my guy Fernando's on it. Dine, see, Navajo and Zuni Pueblo. You probably know more people up in Jemez. So if I want to buy a car in Forest, we gotta talk. Message me. You gotta message me. You always be like, you'll be here, then you'll be gone for a while. So if I want to buy a car and enforce and knowing that down payments are illegal, because I think it's time. I think it's about that time we start really, expanding in our community. I'm talking about like me and my message, and I think it's that time to finally unite the people, our people, and so it's time. Let's do it. You got family from there. Yeah, so they definitely know my people. What did I miss? I don't think you missed anything. We have a recording as well. Right now, we're just going over any questions that anybody may have. So if I want to buy a car in Force and knowing that down payments are illegal, just let them violate me and pay the down payment, get the car, and turn around and take them through the administrative process. So what I would love to do in order to, even just cut out the down payment, is I like to go directly to the financial institution and get an auto loan, and then go to the dealership. I never recommend one go to the dealership, apply for it, do the dealership, because they're just gonna run your credit into a pool of credit where all these banks are just pooling your credit, running your credit. And we know anytime your credit is ran, right, that's you being entered into a consumer credit transaction. You've been entered into a credit transaction. And with that being said, they benefited off your credit. A finance charge has arose. If there's a finance charge, that means somebody's been paid. That's a receipt. If my card's being charged, I see my card being charged. Like, what are you doing? And so that's your hard inquiry. And so Yeah, without what I would do and what I do and what I've done is gone to the banks, and anytime my car now is paid off, my last car I financed and I went directly to the bank and I got an auto loan through the bank, and then from there, then I went to the dealership with the check, and I used the check that I got from, as an auto loan from the bank as the auto loan, and it covered the car that I was looking to acquire. And I don't just go there. So if I'm going to get a $35,000 car, well, I'm going to go acquire a $40,000 loan, and a $35,000 loan. I like to go above it and pay off that $40,000 loan to the bank. That $40,000 is going to cover that $35,000. Any extra fees or anything, that the dealership is trying to throw in, that's all extra, fees that and fines that they're adding on and that they're getting paid, and just, it's just an extra cherry, cherry on the top. From my understanding, and what I've been taught is that these banks have, it's like an affiliate program, really, in essence, it's just like, if I'm a real estate agent and I'm gonna refer somebody to a bank, or if I got X amount of banks, and I'm like, okay, let's have your credit checked, and I got these 5 banks that I go to. Well, the moment I go to these 5 banks, I've got something with these 5 banks to where, honestly, whether or not they do any business with them, once again, their credit was pulled, the finance charge took place, they got paid. All 5 of these banks got paid. I'm bringing them the business, so I don't care to throw off and you know throw the dealership money as well, and the dealerships are getting paid from bringing in these people to these banks and ultimately allowing these banks to pool their credit, and that's all that these banks are doing. And then they're just like, oh, and then these banks are picking and choosing who and they want to do business with. Oh, okay, let's check their background, let's check where they live. Okay, this is a lower level, lower income individual. They also have a background of, this their family line, their bloodline. They're probably not very educated and don't know much, and probably aren't able to get much from these banks, from these other banks. So let's throw them this interest rate. And they're just very what's judgmental, very like, it's very fraudulent with what it is that they're doing. And so the misrepresentation and just the judgment, I mean, it alone, I mean, because who's to say and who's to know that you don't make millions of dollars or billions of dollars, and that you're not a multi-millionaire or billionaire. It doesn't have to show on paper, and a lot of these millionaires and billionaires don't make that amount of money on paper and have their money and their assets inside of trust. And so, yeah, family, the name of the game isn't to look rich and be able to show these banks all this money. That's where the IRS and all these other companies start stepping in. And you want to be under the radar, and you want to own nothing, but you want to control everything. So you need trust, you need these things set up, and we talk about all of these things in the mentorship. So if you're not in the mentorship, I highly advise all of you guys tune in. Thank you all for tuning in here on YouTube. We're definitely going to be back, and I'm going to get a schedule going up and running for y'all, specifically on the YouTube. In the meantime, I'm just going to be going live for the rest of September, at the times in which I can. But come October, we're going to have a schedule for you guys to finish out the year, a 90-day sprint, October, November, December. We're going to have a spooky season schedule for all of you guys, so we can come here, know when we're going to meet. It'll be multiple times throughout the week. I'm thinking about 3 to 4 times throughout the week. We're live here on the YouTube, and I'm going to mix a couple of the calls on the YouTube as well with our community calls, and just be able to knock out 2 birds in 1 stone. So I appreciate y'all. Y'all stay blessed. If y'all need me, y'all know where to find me. Text us at 305-575-2843, and text us the word community once again to get access to our free community. If you guys are looking to get access to that AI bot, that is, the lowest you guys can get access and in with it is our university, our online university, and our online course. And you guys can also check that out by texting the number 305-575-2843. You guys can just text the word YBC University, and you guys can get access to the university. If you guys want more in-depth teachings with our mentorship, you could text us 305-575-2843, the word mentorship, and we'll be able to send you over a qualification form, and we'll see if it aligns with us and with your ultimate vision as well too. Share my 5-year plan and DM to you. What's next? Love. Blessings. Okay. Text me right now, Zoom. Let's get your Zoom, name changed as well. Let's get you an actual name. Let's get you, a picture. All of you guys, let's get you pictures. Let's get you guys your name, your Zoom accounts properly set up. This is where a lot of calls are going to be held. If you guys are in our real estate community, you guys want to be connecting with people, and you want to show your face. You guys want to have a presentable business, and you guys want to look presentable. All righty. Blessings. Well, you guys take care. Y'all stay blessed. If there's anything y'all need from me, please do let me know. I thank you all for being here, and I look forward to our next call this Thursday. Other than that, let's drop a screenshot. Let's let it be known in the Discord. Maybe one thing you guys took away from today. Maybe one thing you guys all took away from today. Next, I would love, just some energy, some fire emojis. I want you guys just to go ahead and express your gratitude. Whatever it may be in the Discord. You need to trust. So let's text me, Jorge, and we'll get all that set up then, brother. Carlos, when can we have our call? I'm back stateside now. Honestly, tomorrow would be perfect. I'm going to be pretty stationed. I'm in Jacksonville right now. And so I'll be out here in Florida, in Jacksonville area for couple more days before I head out to Asia. So it would be good to connect before you're in Jacksonville. So maybe tomorrow we can even just meet up in person, and that'd be even better. So shoot me a text right now. Blessings. Peace and love, family. All right, y'all. One love.